One thing that I absolutely loved about Lockdown, and TNA, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for doing this. You finally proved what I've been saying for so long. After a year of Madison Rayne having the entire knockout division revolving around her with her one-note screechy promos, never delivering in the ring, going over everybody, bad match after bad match, unconvincing win after unconvincing win, having no credibility whatsoever, worst knockout champion of all time. After an entire year of that, you proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that this woman is and always has been nothing but a big fucking joke. After all that build-up, all that hype, she walks out there at Lockdown to no crowd reaction at all, doing her Killer Queen bullshit, and then Mickie James, with a separated shoulder, kicks her ass and pins her in 30 seconds. This could not have been more perfect if I had booked it myself. Congratulations, Mickie, and Madison, enjoy your one-way trip back to Jobbing on Explosion, you no-talent loser! Anyway, the show started with the X Division Escape match, and this was pretty good. There were some great sequences with Chris Sabin, Jay Lethal, and Chris Sabin and Amazing Red. I don't know what the hell they were thinking booking Robbie E to last as long as he did. He should have been eliminated first, and the match would have been a lot better for it. But still, pretty good stuff here. Max Buck wins. I don't have a problem with that. Great worker, and he's the only one of those guys getting anything resembling a push right now, so that makes sense. But man, they really need to find something for Chris Sabin to do, because Chris Sabin is awesome. Then Bischoff came out to cut an absolutely pointless promo for some reason. He didn't even say anything new, just Immortal is awesome, blah blah blah, Hulk Hogan is the greatest thing ever, blah blah blah. Complete waste of 5 minutes. Four Corners tag team match. There were a few decent sequences here, but this was cluttered and really suffered from having too many people in it. You take Eric Young and Orlando Jordan out of there and you got a much better match. And I don't even know what the hell they were doing in there. It felt like the only reason they were booked for this in the first place was to give Eric Young a bigger platform to act like a jackass on. And his stupid shit never even factored into the match either. It's pin or submission, but he tries to escape the cage because he's an idiot. And then he does it again. And then Shannon Moore pins Doug Williams. If Shannon Moore had pinned Orlando Jordan because Eric left him alone, that would have made sense at least. But this was just Eric doing stupid stuff for the sake of doing stupid stuff. It was just distracting. Pope versus Samoa Joe. This was okay, but all I could think about was how much better it would have been if Joe was the heel and Pope was the face. It wasn't bad, but it just seemed kind of dull. And there were times when it looked like Joe was trying to get into second gear, but I didn't feel like Pope was really giving a ton of effort. And after this loss, on top of all his other losses, that guy needs to be completely rebuilt. Morgan Hernandez. The finish was cool, but I found the match itself to be pretty boring. There just isn't a lot of chemistry between these guys, and there never was. The best thing Hernandez has going for him is those cool high-flying spots, but if he's a heel, he can't do that stuff. And he really doesn't have a whole lot to offer otherwise. I mean, he was great as one half of LAX, but as a singles wrestler, Hernandez is getting exposed pretty quickly. Afterwards, Sarita and Rosita cut this promo, and immediately I start cringing, because I know this is just a setup to Velvet Sky coming out, and sure enough, the least talented woman on the entire Knockout roster waltzes out there and kicks the asses of the Knockout Tag Team Champions by herself. What a load of horse shit. Jeff Jarrett versus Kurt Angle. With the state of Kurt Angle's body, all the injuries that guy has, I could not believe the bumps he was taking. Angle slam off the turnbuckle, the Hurricane Rana powerbomb spot that looked like it killed him, moonsault off the top of the cage. I mean, holy shit, that's amazing. But it was really scary too, because if he keeps doing this, Kurt really is going to die in the ring one of these days, and I'm not even joking about that. He's gonna fucking die in the ring. The match was awesome, but the fact that Jeff Jarrett won again it was such garbage. Jeff Jarrett should be in the mid-card or staying backstage helping to build the young guys into bigger stars. And instead, they're constantly putting him over the biggest star they have. Why? What is the point of putting over Jeff Jarrett in 2011? What is the fucking point?
You people are fools!
Sting, Anderson, and Van Dam for the world title. I liked it while it lasted, but it seemed like it was just getting started and then suddenly it was over. This match had more build-up than any other match on the show and it lasted less than 8 minutes! Probably because that's about as long as Sting can go at this point. And the tease of Sting versus Hogan at the end? Haha! Fuck that shit. Seriously, if you're honestly excited about the idea of Sting versus Hogan in 2011 and Hogan possibly winning the world title again, then please, do the human race a favor, sterilize yourself before you have a chance to reproduce. Lethal Lockdown was the main event, and that was definitely the right call, and this was really good. Loved Daniels diving off the top of the cage, that was awesome. I have no complaints about the match, except for one part. When AJ came back, he just jumped into the cage, went after Bully Ray, and the referee didn't do anything about it. Why? Because it's no DQ. But if people can just enter the cage whenever they want and just have their way with anybody in there, then why didn't every member of Immortal just run down there and destroy Fortune? It's not like they've had any problems getting involved in matches before. I'm not saying I wanted that to happen, I didn't. I'm just pointing out there's a pretty big logic hole here. And something else that bothered me, with the way this was booked, Fortune basically had to cheat to win. It was just like in Bound for Glory when EV2 couldn't beat Fortune in a fair fight, so they had to get Brian Kendrick to cheat for him. Yes, it's good that Fortune went over, but it was kind of a tainted victory. And Fortune didn't deserve that. They deserved to go over clean. But you know, aside from that and a couple other things, I enjoyed Lockdown. Was it the best Lockdown ever? No. Did it set a new standard for pay-per-view like Hogan said? No. But it ended on a good note. There were some good matches here, and, you know, after Victory Road, that's what they needed to do. So, good. Alright, so TNA managed to pull off a relatively decent Lockdown pay-per-view. And it turns out they followed it up with an Impact I kind of liked as well. Not to say there was a lot of great wrestling this week, there wasn't. There was wrestling, but none of it was very good, but still, I liked this show. It helped that they finished off some of the terrible feuds they had going at Lockdown. Morgan Hernandez is done, I'm guessing Pope Samoa Joe is done. That makes a difference. Plus, the crowd was actually awake, so there was less canned heat this week. Anyway, the show starts and the cage is still set up, which is why I'm still in black and white right now. It was probably because they wanted to get that visual of AJ about to dive off the top of the cage and put Bully Ray through a table, but then they kept the cage up for that impromptu tag title match, and I really don't see why that was necessary, but whatever. Starting the show with AJ was good. I think the writers have finally realized that the never-ending Immortal promos to open the show were getting really repetitive, so changing it up is a good thing. Not crazy about the idea of AJ feuding with Bully Ray, but for a month or two I guess it makes sense, as long as they don't drag it out longer than that. Gunner coming out and fighting with Christopher Daniels, that's fine. You know, people keep telling me Gunner is a good wrestler. I haven't seen it yet, but he is the TV champion, so he needs a feud. And Daniels is a guy that he can have good matches with, so I'll give him a shot. And hey, if this leads to Christopher Daniels winning the TV title, how is that a bad thing? So then Murphy and Rob Terry come out and demand a tag team title match with Beer Money, even though neither of them have won a match in God knows how long. And of course, it's absolutely ridiculous. Storm and Rude carry them as best they could, but there is really nothing good you can do with these clowns. Punch, kick, clothesline, shoulder block, yawn, Beer Money win, completely pointless match. Meanwhile, you've got new #1 contenders for the tag team titles with Inc., who are not even on the show this week. And that's just stupid because I'm assuming they're getting their title shot at Sacrifice, and they have not been built up as credible challengers at all. Instead of having Beer Money show everyone that Murphy and Rob Terry are worthless scrubs, which we already knew, why not do something with Inc.? You could have had Murphy and Terry challenge them for their tag team title shot and have Inc. beat them. That would have done something at least. This really didn't. They had an in-ring promo with Hogan, Rob Van Dam, and Sting, and I loved this because of what Van Dam said to Hogan. He's like, you had all the respect in the world and you threw it away and sold out, and now everyone really just wants you to go the hell away. This was beautiful. He even said that wrestlers these days can't make a living doing a leg drop. I can't believe they went there. For 5 minutes, I actually became an RVD fan. It was awesome. I mean, you put a Smart Mark fan in the ring with Hogan, that's what he would say. This was great. Then Sting came out and dropped this bombshell. Apparently the network put a clause in his contract that lets him choose his challengers for the world title. Yeah, it's hokey, and retroactively it really doesn't make any sense at all if you think about it for a minute, but I actually like this too. If for no other reason than because with all these teases they're dropping that Hogan's going to be getting back in the ring for another match and maybe face Sting for the world title again, as long as Sting gets to pick his own challengers, that can never happen. I mean, giving Hogan any opportunity whatsoever to actually wrestle for the world title again, to do something like that, Sting would have to be a complete idiot. Oh shit. So this promo sets up Van Dam versus Abyss for later. Considering the history between these guys, it wasn't anywhere near as intense as it should have been, and it really needed more time. Though I will give Abyss props for continuing the match after Van Dam kicked his teeth out. The match did nothing for me, but the Crimson run-in after the match I thought was really cool. And him making the save for Rob Van Dam, like taking out Abyss and running off Hulk Hogan like he did, that probably made Crimson look like a bigger star than anything they've done with him up to this point. Astonishingly, they've managed to not drop the ball with him yet. But they probably will pretty soon, because he's going to be feuding with Abyss now, and no one gets anything out of feuding with Abyss because Hogan just refuses to let this motherfucker look weak for any reason. So, I guess Crimson will job to Abyss at Sacrifice, and then he'll job to Abyss again at Slammiversary, probably in a Monsters Ball match, and then the feud will just end. And Crimson will be buried, and Hogan will still be the only person on Earth who gives a rat's ass about Abyss anymore. And that sucks, because I really feel like TNA have got something with Crimson. This guy could be a big breakout star for them, and I really think they're just gonna blow it. Feuding with Abyss is just gonna kill his momentum dead. Then they had this god-awful coronation ceremony where Jeff Jarrett crowned Karen the Queen of the Mountain. And yeah, it was every bit as painful as it sounds. But then Kurt Angle dumped a whole load of horse crap all over Karen and it became awesome. Was it telegraphed and predictable? Yeah, but it was still awesome. Thank you, Kurt Angle. This was so great. I would actually tolerate Karen being on Impact if they could find a way to dump horse crap on her every single week. That would be wonderful. But then they got to the part that I was dreading. Kurt says he's bringing in his quote-unquote mistress to destroy Karen, and this is the spot rumored to be going to Isis the Amazon. And if you don't know who she is, she's the female Rob Terry that was going to be on NXT Season 3 until WWE came to their senses and fired her no-talent ass. TNA gave her a tryout a little while ago and they thought she sucked, but WWE has Kong now, so TNA just have to bring in a big girl of their own, even if she's lousy. Please don't. Being 7 feet tall doesn't mean jack shit if she has no talent. Give a spot to any other woman you've tried out. Jennifer Blake, Serena Deeb, Christina Von Eerie, Leva Bates, Melanie Cruz, anyone. Give it to anyone else. Matt Morgan comes out and cuts a promo about how he's refocusing on the world title, and just when I'm feeling really happy about the feud with him and Hernandez being over, Scott Steiner comes out and gets in his face. And yeah, I wasn't digging the tag team, I thought it was a waste of Crimson's time, but one good thing about it was that it gave them a reason to not put Steiner in singles matches. And guess what happened? The tag team is done, and now Steiner wants a world title shot! All these roadblocks they're putting up in front of Morgan are just getting more and more redundant. The time's gonna come when they have to either pull the trigger on this guy or just have him stop mentioning the world title, period. And the last thing I'll mention is the Hogan-Anderson segment. This was really funny because in this promo, Hogan used the word brah. Yeah. Hogan called Anderson brah. Just add that one to the list under dude and mamma jamma. I have no idea why the 60-year-old Hogan is trying to talk like an 8-year-old surfer stereotype, but I have to admit, it's funny to listen to. Also really funny was when Hogan said that if this was 15 years ago and 8 back surgeries ago, I'd kick your ass, brother. And Anderson's comeback was so perfect. He's like, well, it's not 15 years ago and 8 back surgeries ago. You can't do shit to me and you know it, so shut the fuck up. That was fantastic. Not for nothing, though, you can see where they're going with this. Hogan obviously thinks he's healthy enough to get back in the ring again, and if and when he does, it's gonna be a fucking catastrophe, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But you know what? Minus the problems, I like this Impact. Not saying it was great, none of the wrestling was very good, but a lot of the angles were entertaining at least. They finished off some things at Lockdown, they were able to sweep a lot of the crap off the table, and the show was a lot more enjoyable for it. Nothing incredible, but I was more or less entertained for 2 hours. So I'm going to end it there. Going to quit while I'm ahead for a change. See you next time.